but also with entering international markets, which makes us very happy. By the way, I just noticed, and it was mentioned at the exhibition as well, I have all this information in my notes. The age of the participants, 67% of the participants are between 18 and 45 years old. That's a very good indicator. Every year at this venue, given the very tight format, we only manage to discuss a few initiatives in detail, of course, but I want to emphasize that there are actually many more ecological, educational, technological, and entrepreneurial ideas than what gets discussed at these forums, including, of course, projects in the creative industries, tourism, the improvement of our cities and other populated areas, towns, and so on. All these initiatives, I want to stress, are born and tested in practical work, as military people say, on the ground. At the same time, I would like to know that every year, thousands of the best ideas receive concrete support. Their teams and leaders are provided with educational and methodological assistance necessary for further development. And the 100 most significant initiatives are sent to the government, ministries, agencies, and the regions of the Russian Federation for use in formulating systemic solutions. Of course, I cannot fail to mention the great work done by the people who are engaged in this activity as their main occupation. First and foremost, this is OSI and also Vinesh Econombank. I want to thank you for this and say that your efforts are recognized by the government. They are not only acknowledged, but also truly appreciated. And we are all very grateful to you for this. And of course, I can't help but mention Roscongress, which provides the technical organization for all this work. Let me repeat. The forum's important public mission is to help reveal the talents and immense creative potential of our people. And of course, the tools of the Know Our People competition are meant to play an important role here as well. We've just thoroughly discussed this particular matter, and I personally watched it all over again, and honestly, I watched it with immense and genuine pleasure. I sincerely hope that a significant portion of what was just clearly shown, much of what has been successfully accomplished, will continue to steadily move forward with great momentum. We will do everything we can to support this, and I am confident that more and more new initiatives will continue to emerge. I already spoke about this direction recently in St. Petersburg at the St. Petersburg Economic Forum. And in fact, not only there we talk about this everywhere, and we will continue not only to talk, but also to move in this direction towards supporting such initiatives. Our new brands, what's very important, truly important, is that they are in different industries. Just now, I looked at the exhibition. It includes food products, clothing, but also a high technology, including the use of artificial intelligence. And what is very important to understand is that this process is no longer simply reverse engineering. It is not about meticulously taking something apart, then carefully putting it back together again and working along the established lines of import substitution. No, this is a fundamentally different approach. Many products are being created based on our own developments. This is extremely important. It's the most important thing. And of course, above all, we will support these kinds of initiatives. Also, last year at this venue, there was a proposal to assist foreign citizens in relocating to Russia, those who share our traditional values and want to work with us for the benefit of our country, for themselves, for their families, and even for the countries they're coming from. Of course, this is just a small part of the overall work on developing the country and addressing staffing issues. Why is that? Because, first and foremost, we welcome those people who come to us with a good education, solid training, and a desire to work and live here, to raise their children in an environment that they believe is comfortable for strengthening the family. We will only welcome their desire to work with us. Of course, I repeat once again, this is not the main avenue for solving issues related to staffing or improving the labor market situation, but still, this is a step in the right direction, and we will continue to do this going forward. Overall, I would like to note that the forum is taking on an international character. This year, citizens from 17 foreign countries have submitted applications with their ideas. We will definitely provide support in implementing all important initiatives. all the more so if these initiatives are aimed at benefiting our country and at strengthening trust between civil societies, between scientists, engineers, and those working in the so-called creative economy. It is precisely with the involvement of talented, passionate people that we are set to make a tremendous leap forward, in fact, to launch a new stage of technological development. It must, in every sense of the word, become a new era for Russia. In order to achieve our goals and ensure the broad and, I emphasize, universal and comprehensive implementation of promising developments, we need to support not only individual large research centers and institutes, but as I have said many times, it is critically important to find and lend a helping hand to small, just emerging scientific and engineering teams, including school, student, and family groups. Just now at the exhibition, some of the guys were telling me about family businesses and family initiatives. We will, of course, do everything we can to support this. And here, the mechanisms of the forum, Strong Ideas for a New Time, are meant to play a significant and substantial role. I hope that's exactly how it will be. As we shape a successful technological present and future, it is, of course, important for us to ensure and preserve what unites us as a single people. That is, to preserve our traditions, values, and national identity. This is the most important condition for the development and existence of our country in a changing, complex, and contradictory world. And I am confident that you, dear friends, all the participants of the forum, are true workers and patriots. Just now, one of the slogans shown at the exhibition was, "Being an entrepreneur is patriotic." I am sure that this is how it works in practice, and that's how it will continue to be. And I have seen this proven many times over the past few years. And in this work, I ask you never to forget that the main purpose of creating scientific and engineering achievements, and of course all special environmental initiatives, is above all to improve the quality of life for our citizens. And perhaps first and foremost, for families with children. This is an extremely important area, well, really always. But in our situation, in our country, given the demographic challenges, it is doubly, even triply important. You know, I would really like to ask you, in the course of your work across all sorts of different areas, since you work in completely different fields, you are creative, intelligent people, and you will always find a way to promote the family, the large family, and support for motherhood and childhood. Only you, with your truly exceptional creative flair and unique vision, can genuinely make the strong, large, and deeply traditional family a fashionable and enduring trend in Russia's ongoing development. I really, truly want to earnestly ask this significant and important thing of you. Well, I think that's quite enough for now. Don't you agree? Thank you.
Vladimir Vladimirovich, thank you very much. You already mentioned that we met at the exhibition, which took place before our plenary session and was dedicated to initiatives in the field of entrepreneurship. And the participants of the Know Our Own brand competition, which we have been holding for 3 years now, were presented there. This year, of course, was no exception. And I will certainly support Vladimir Vladimirovich's points. It would seem that we were looking at entrepreneurial projects, and colleagues were talking about their products, about the brands they had created. You know, every speaker talked about their family, talked about their children. There were a lot of work in dynasties where both the spouse and the children are already involved in the business. This, of course, is very encouraging. And we are also very pleased, Vladimir Vladimirovich, that today we are holding our forum at the National Center of Russia. I am very grateful to the management of the center, to Natalia Virtuozova. I think it's also symbolic that we are discussing initiatives and projects for the development of our country right here at this venue. I would like to highlight the most active regions, Vladimir Vladimirovich. As I already mentioned, 36,000 ideas were submitted. The most active regions are the Republic of Bashkortostan, Nizhny Novgorod region, Saratov region, Moscow, the Republic of Mordovia, Rostov and Samara regions, where residents of our regions have submitted more than 5,000 ideas to our platform. But it is very important to ensure that all ideas and projects receive support. And here, over the past 4 years, more than 5,000 ideas have already been supported by ASI and our partners. VEB, for example, supports projects through the tools of its ecosystem. This includes the SME Corporation and the Russian Export Center. Sbera annually holds accelerators for our participants. Over the past 2 seasons, more than 200 technology startups at various stages have also received support. Rose Congress annually includes the top 100 idea leaders in our forums, the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, the Eastern Economic Forum, and the Arctic Forum. Thanks to our media partners, millions of our citizens have learned about our forum and our idea leaders. Vladimir Vladimirovich, I would also like to talk about our expert work, but I think it would be best if our chairman of the OSI Expert Council, Igor Ivanovich Shuvalov, who is also the chairman of VEB, does it. RF.
Dear Vladimir Vladimirovich, of course, our event, which takes place once a year, is a key event because for those who present their brands in the Know Our People competition and for those who present their ideas, for them, despite all the work we do, it is, of course, important to showcase their products, to show how people actually work within their enterprises. And behind them stand entire teams. They are showcasing the products of their teams. And this initiative, which we carry out together with Svetlana, with a large number of people, with many experts, and with the leadership of the constituent entities of the Russian Federation, this work is carried out non-stop throughout the year. And of course, I'll say once again that the event itself, the forum itself, is the most important event. But throughout the year, we work actively right up until the forum itself. And starting literally tomorrow, we will begin preparing the final event for NGOs for the Know Our People competition. The finalists will be determined in just a few days on the 17th. And then, once again, our traditional work, continuous trips with a large business group to the regions. We will be meeting with representatives from higher education, as well as small and medium-sized businesses and Russian exporters. All this work lies ahead. Svetlana mentioned that this year we received over 30,000 initiatives. And during the days when we were working together with Maxim Stanislavovich Oreshkin, we had heated debates about which initiatives to present to you in your presence. Of course, we won't be able to showcase all of them today, but as you said, the top 100 ideas, the 100 most important ideas, we will formally present to the government of the Russian Federation in order to work them out together with the ministries and agencies. We will take the most important initiatives that are ready as business plans, and we will select them for our development group, VEB, SME Corporation, REC, and other organizations. And we will look at the most significant initiatives that can be promoted within the framework of the Eastern Forum. Perhaps we will prepare something for your address, and we will work together with the presidential administration. We hope that the most outstanding initiatives will receive your support. And of course, by the next forum in St. Petersburg, we will continue to support and develop this agenda. Allow me first to report to you on some of the most important initiatives that you supported last year. I should mention that last year, when there was an initiative to develop tourism, you approached me and said, I left the government for VEB and tried to answer rather evasively. Then there was the directive to support the tourist complex in the Lipetsk region. I report funding has been secured, the corresponding agreement has been signed, and the Repets estate will receive all the necessary investments according to schedule in order to welcome tourists. This, on the one hand, is also about restoring Russian estates. The leadership of the Lipetsk region supports this project, but even the entrepreneurs themselves who earn practically nothing, The
main thing now is to make sure the schedule doesn't fall behind until 2030.
No, Vladimir Vladimirovich,
I carried it out.
we guarantee that the schedule was fully coordinated with the Repets estate and with Alexei Krapkin based on how they can receive these investments. On our part, we even wish to provide it faster, but although the amount is small, it is still very important for this project. A lot is being done in the field of tourism within the framework of the Axis. At one time, you supported the initiative for tourist trails. We took on the preparation of the draft law ourselves, and it turned out that although it sounds simple and the topic seems straightforward, it is actually a very complex and comprehensive piece of legislation that involves a wide range of legal fields. We were assisted here by the administration, the main legal department, and the lawyers of the State Duma and the Federation Council. A draft law has been created. We expect that in the coming days, this draft law will be considered in its first reading in the State Duma. The topic turned out to be complex, but extremely important for developing not only tourist trails in places where such projects are already progressing on their own, but also in areas where legislative regulation is needed, including in special zones where we must be especially careful about protecting the natural environment. For example, around Lake Baikal, where there is such a demand, but as soon as such a legislative mechanism is created, we will be able to implement it in the area of the city of Baikalsk, where VEB is responsible for establishing a large tourist zone, as well as in other places where it is needed. Also, Vladimir Vladimirovich, the issue of smart migration was raised last year by Irena Chekini, who brought this matter to your attention at that time. You signed the corresponding decree, which launched this work and made the procedure for obtaining the relevant status in the Russian Federation much simpler. By the way, it should be noted that Irena received her share of support, in quotation marks, in the countries of the European Union after she put forward this initiative. Nevertheless, she is in very good spirits, developing her career in the Russian Federation, currently studying for her master's degree at MGIMO, has obtained the relevant residence permit status, and is preparing to become a citizen of the Russian Federation. I should also tell you that as part of the preparation of the new presidential decree, Svetlana is working here with the Ministry of Internal Affairs, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and other agencies. And this is an important initiative that will allow this issue to be further developed. There have been many inquiries from foreign countries about the possibility of obtaining Russian Federation citizenship, perhaps through some kind of intermediate status. And I should tell you that we have received a large number of requests from farmers from Africa, white farmers, who are ready to move to the Russian Federation and are considering it because of the traditional values and the culture that exists in the Russian Federation. The kindness of the people and our traditions and orthodoxy in particular are mentioned in these appeals. These people are ready to consider the Russian Federation as a place where not only it will become their homeland, but also where they can seriously develop agriculture. In their appeals, they write that they have both the technology and the desire, and are ready to work to create a new agricultural culture in the Russian Federation. So there are all kinds of people. It's not just those we look at, those who are in high technology or have a good education. So these kinds of people also want to find a new home in the Russian Federation. Regarding the investment climate, Vladimir Vladimirovich, this topic is constantly being discussed along this line. Today, it is in high demand, by the way, at the St. Petersburg Forum, at a wide variety of events and at many different stands, both where large entrepreneurial projects and smaller ones were presented. The topic of the entrepreneurial climate is being discussed in a new way. Of course, there is a demand for this to be part of the presidential agenda. Previously, you supported the National Entrepreneurial Initiative, and under your leadership, we were able to accomplish a lot at that time. The legislation was changed. Back then, we significantly improved our position in international investment rankings. And now ASI has developed a national ranking. And now this ranking not only shows how the entrepreneurial environment is developing in the regions of the Russian Federation, but ASI also links it to the ranking of improvements in the quality of life for families. So in addition to attracting more investment, how is the situation in the region changing, and to what extent is this reflected in the quality of life of the average Russian family? We believe that in principle, this format can develop not only in the Russian Federation, it would be even better if it became international. Obviously, we are not currently participating in this ranking within the framework of the World Bank. Moreover, it even has certain methodological shortcomings of its own. As a rule, only a few sectors were selected, which did not reflect the overall situation with the investment climate in the country. And usually it was just the two largest cities in the country. What ASI is doing now, of course, concerns all regions of the Russian Federation. It concerns the majority of economic sectors. And we will ask for your support so that this ranking, this project can reach the level of the SEO, BRICS, and the Eurasian Economic Community. And where our competition for investment leadership will take place on such an international scale, it will motivate us, among other things, to work faster and to create this new entrepreneurial environment in the context of healthy competition with our partners in these formats. Once again, I'll mention the Eurasian Economic Community, BRICS, and the SEO. Regarding technological leadership, you set a specific task for VEB at the St. Petersburg Forum, and you just mentioned it again. We have started working with the presidential administration and the government to completely overhaul the entire range of support for technological projects. This will take us several months. As a rule, we support such projects by providing grants, debt financing, and by taking equity stakes in companies. We will look at how to make this as effective as possible for those technologies that are not only in demand within the Russian Federation, but also have export potential. We will be working on this together with the Russian Export Center. Traditionally, we work here with our partner Maxim Oreshkin, and Andrei Alexandrovich Fursenko has also joined this effort. We will be working on this together with him. Many people who are developing their expertise in this field would have liked to be represented here today. But after some discussion, we decided not to take up time. However, I will mention one entrepreneur. Carbontex is a company that manufactures fuselage coverings from advanced materials, and they believe that these modern technologies will make it possible to create state-of-the-art river and sea vessels. They approached us so that we could provide this support. So I'm reporting to you that we have taken this project on. By water, traditionally, Vladimir Vladimirovich, we always say that water is a great asset for Russia. We have large reserves of fresh water, and we have a vast coastal zone. Right now, we are actively working on developing the Northern Sea route. But in the context of preparing for the forum, the topic of water has taken on a completely different meaning. It's fundamentally about environmental protection, the development of modern new energy sources, and the application of innovative new technologies to provide efficient and sustainable modern transportation solutions in expansive large cities where significant rivers flow, and so on and so forth. Together with Svetlana and the Expert Council, we will try to shape this topic so that it is presented as the economy around water as a whole. There is a great demand for this topic. Once again, I want to emphasize that these are new aspects that we have never considered before. Regarding support for families, Vladimir Vladimirovich, to be honest, I wasn't prepared to say this because I completely agree with what you're saying, but in the EBE and in all family development organizations, families with many children receive a lot of support. For example, the person responsible for new personnel development in our organization has 5 children. I have 4. I hope I'll have grandchildren soon. And we have created a special corporate program so that those who are ready to have more children and raise worthy citizens will receive our support at the corporate level. I should also mention that Valentina Ivanovna Matvienko is constantly driving this work, inviting us and encouraging us to develop corporate programs like these. And since we're talking about families, I should also tell you, Vladimir Vladimirovich, that amid the discussion of new legislation on animal welfare, there have been many initiatives promoting humane treatment of animals. And where there is a big family, there should also be animals. We should love our little brothers. You know, people really care about this topic. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'll hand the floor back to Svetlana.
Thank you. Vladimir Vladimirovich, I'd like to ask each of my deputies to present their block of initiatives. And first, I'd like to ask Georgy Belozerov to present the area of ecology and climate.
Yes, sorry, Georgie. I saw a sign there. One of the participants was holding it up, suggesting ways to save or generate revenue for the budget.
Rubles, right? That's what it says there. Well, trillions, all the more so. You know, you just can't ignore it. I don't even know what he's going to say, but I just can't help but start with this. Give me... Yes. The microphone.
Thank you very much for noticing. Well, our projects made it into the top 1,000 ideas there. We'd like to be in the top 100. Let me explain. It's a simple action. Right now we have a project, our data economy project, in which Mikhail Vladimirovich Mishustin has assigned us the task of processing, transmitting, and forming data according to unified classification rules. That is, we have taken and digitized all the regulatory and reference information from the regulator, which is used by all economic entities to code goods, fixed assets, types of activities, various services. And we have linked it with millions of legal norms. So now we can automatically process any volume of data, let's say for end-to-end asset management. Everything related, for example, to capital expenditures in housing and utilities, we can assess let's say, we can evaluate, for instance, the effectiveness of depreciation charges, show the actual wear and tear, and how it corresponds to the legal standards. So right now, we've written to the department of Boris Yuryevich Kovalchuk. Yes. They gave us the Federal State Institution for inspection, and we showed the results. They're looking at it now, and there's definitely work to be done for the entire state enterprise. If we're talking about 5 trillion, we have about 270 trillion rubles in assets in Russia. So on average, that's about 1.5%, which, is like the state's lost income. We can actually show this money at almost any, let's say, large enterprise.
So the idea is to bring assets out of the shadows and collect taxes on them, right?
Yes. Well, no, we don't need to bring them out of the shadows because, in our economy, everyone is supposed to code objects and everyone does, but no one actually exchanges data code to code. And as a result, there are mistakes in the regulations. Since everything is done manually, it's barely checked. That's what happens with us.
And everything will be more accurate, faster.
Yes, and simpler, yes.
Please say thank you to your colleague.
Yes, we have projects where we can show 400 million rubles in 40 seconds. That's it.
So where is your proposal?
Oh, I have everything right here.
Well,
yes, I can, Igor Sergeyevich, if you give me any enterprise, I can show it.
Igor Ivanovich.
Igor Ivanovich, yes, sorry.
All right. What you show about the degree of where won't save anything in the budget.
Why not? Because you actually have to spend, you see? And sometimes that's not always...
No, well, the degree of where is basically clear anyway. The question is where to find the money to make timely decisions to maintain the housing and utility systems and to develop them using modern technologies. But still, it's very useful, very useful. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vladimir Vladimirovich, for the opportunity to talk about how the National Environmental and Climate Initiative began its work, which was launched following the decision of the Supervisory Board at the agency. A considerable number of ideas have already been submitted to this forum. About 4,000 ideas were submitted from 4 countries, both nearby and distant. Belarus, Moldova, India, and Ethiopia participated in the work and in proposing ideas. The main thing is, what do we see from the analysis of the ideas that have been submitted? First, citizens understand very well how important nature is and that it cannot simply be treated as a source of raw materials or minerals or exploited. Second, citizens are very interested in joining forces with the government and businesses in order to work with nature, including jointly investing in increasing natural wealth, restoring forests, cleaning rivers, and much more. Citizens take the issue of urban health very seriously, and there are a lot of ideas and proposals specifically related to developing such a healthy environment in populated areas. Among them, I can mention, we won't be able to show all of them here, only 2 of the most significant ones. But at the same time, I would like to ask for the opportunity to highlight a few ideas that are very important and could have great potential. This is the idea of bio and neurocities, which are based on the works of both Russian and Soviet scientists. This includes academician Bekhterev, as well as works that gave rise to the Russian architectural style and the overall organization of cities constructivism, because today this has new prospects and a new interpretation. And there really is a lot here, and it was initiated specifically in Russia more than 100 years ago. These are ideas put forward by Vladimir Shokin and Anna Linko. Vladimir Shokin is a developer who is directly involved in the construction of facilities in cities. And Anna Linko, who, together with the leadership of Nizhny Novgorod, is creating precisely such biological clusters within cities, which make it possible to transform abandoned ravine areas into bioproductive spaces, places where people can enjoy walking, breathe fresh air, and spend time. The second incredibly important direction, which many people enthusiastically supported, is the maximum possible reduction of the solid household waste recycling cycle, extending up to the genuine possibility of recycling something directly at home or, for instance, within the immediate neighborhood, perhaps in the form of community cooperatives that can efficiently handle this complex process. Well, first of all, today's technologies make it possible to create very compact devices that can process both polymers and even organic waste, which can be used right away. For example, in any household, we always need things like clothespins, table legs, or whatever else you can think of. And these technologies can allow for a very quick return of materials into circulation and encourage environmentally friendly behavior among citizens. This is a great prospect that will reduce the burden on municipal services in terms of logistics and waste disposal on the one hand, and on the other hand will increase interest and opportunities, including earning potential for citizens. These ideas were proposed to us by Anton Turchenko and Sergei Tushev. They are the creators of the EcoTachka project. This is something that has already started working and something that now can and should be expanded and replicated, providing the right conditions for its development. The next major area is everything related to new biomaterials. Indeed, we are seeing many amazing things that biotechnology specifically allows us to create. And these are new building materials, including self-healing facades.
Georgi, let's finally give the floor to the people we've gathered here for today.
Yes, my last idea is host symbiosis. If I may, these ideas have been and will be submitted to you for consideration in working order, so that they can be reviewed and supported at the level of the government, regional science, and the companies interested in this. Thank you. And first, I would like to give the floor to Igor Makarov, a scholar from the Higher School of Economics, who proposed a global rethinking of the water economy. And it seems that this is truly a major development strategy, both for our country, Russia, and for the world.
The water economy, then?
Yes.
Dear Vladimir Vladimirovich, my name is Igor Makarov. I am the head of the Department of World Economy and the head of the Laboratory for the Economics of Climate Change at the Higher School of Economics. I would like to present an idea called Russia's water potential. In fact, more than 1 billion people around the world already live in areas suffering from water scarcity. By the middle of the 21st century, that will be 2/3 of the population. Some might say that water is worthless, but in reality, many countries are already paying the price for water shortages they pay with increased disease rates, with ecosystem degradation, with the loss of biodiversity. Water is an extremely valuable economic asset, and the value of this asset is only increasing over time. Russia possesses 20% of the world's reserves of this strategic asset, and of course has every opportunity to become the water superpower of the 21st century. But for that, a strategy is needed. A comprehensive strategy for leveraging the competitive advantages associated with our abundance of fresh water and its rational use. And this strategy could consist of 4 components. The first component is accounting for and assessing the water footprint of our production. We need to understand how much water is used to produce a particular product. And we need to understand this in order to implement the second component. This is the creation of economic incentives for rational water use. For example, by setting water consumption standards based on the best available technologies, taking into account our technical and engineering potential, while at the same time restricting polluting water management practices. The third component is the development of modern technologies, primarily related to water conservation and water purification. This is a huge and rapidly growing market. And, modern technologies not only make it possible to use water without any negative impact on it, but in principle, even to return water to bodies of water cleaner than it was when it was originally taken. Of course, we would like to support such technologies. And finally, the fourth component. The fourth component is the creation of mechanisms for investing in the water sector involving the government, businesses, and the public. Overall, the entire strategy is aimed at making water an investment attractive segment of the economy, and at the same time, making rational water use the new standard for economic activity. If we succeed in this, then we will be able to effectively use our competitive advantages, our national wealth, our true blue gold. Thank you.
Thank you. You may take seat.
Yes. I would like to give the floor to Anastasia Timuro, a farmer, mother of farmers, wife of a farmer, and daughter of farmers from the Zaporizhia region, Melitopol.
All right. May I respond to what my colleague just said? Please have a seat. And you please take a seat as well. Indeed, this is a tremendous wealth for Russia. And in this regard, we have significant competitive advantages. That's absolutely true. Because you see, international experts provide several assessments of the situation and the water security of different countries. You surely know this. The first group is who? These are countries where I believe it's 25,000 cubic meters or more per person. These are countries that are considered well supplied or even have a surplus of water for the country's needs. This includes Russia, Brazil, Canada, and even, I think, in Africa, Congo, if I'm not mistaken, right? Countries like these. Then the average water availability is notably found in several developed countries, such as the United States of America, among a few other nations across the globe. Conversely, there are also numerous countries that unfortunately experience a significantly insufficient water supply. As far as I can accurately recall, this particular group of nations notably includes the People's Republic of China, which faces considerable challenges in this regard, and a few other countries. Mexico, I think, right. We have good water resources, but it is absolutely essential to act in the most rational way possible. Here, I agree with you. You've outlined these several parameters. Of course, we need to adhere to them. If we use water specifically as a resource for economic development, we need to proceed from the fact that, on the one hand, we seem to have sufficient water, but on the other hand, its distribution is uneven. For example, in the south of the country, there isn't enough water. And in the central part, where the population density is highest, there can also be problems. There is plenty of water in places like Siberia, but even there, we need to act in such a way as not to disrupt the established balance. Look, not so long ago, we were pleased that we had a surplus of electricity in some regions, but then people started actively engaging in mining there, and governors began complaining to me that they no longer had enough electricity for the development of their respective regions. We were forced to make certain decisions regarding mining. The same applies to the use of water resources. And without a doubt, we still need to look at how and for what purposes water is being used. Because if we use this resource for industrial development, which is what we're talking about, we need to keep in mind that 50% of all water consumption goes specifically to industry. And if we take that 50% as 100, then 75% of it is used by the energy sector. We simply need to keep this in mind. As for agriculture, for example, agriculture accounts for only about 2% and irrigation for 3%. Irrigation apparently is meant in a broad sense. It includes irrigation in cities and so on. We also need to keep this balance in mind and take it into account when implementing those programs that can and should arise based on your proposals and developments. Overall, of course, this resource must be used efficiently, and we need to be very careful when making any large-scale decisions. In Soviet times, as you surely know, I'm sure we all know, there were ideas about diverting Siberian rivers and so on and so forth. We need to be extremely careful when it comes to the use of water from our largest rivers. We understand what we are talking about. We must approach this with the utmost care. But overall, of course, if we want to use this resource to increase our competitiveness, we must do so only rationally, including by utilizing your ideas and developments. Thank you very much.
Hello, esteemed Vladimir Vladimirovich, Svetlana Vitalievna, and Igor Ivanovich. I am Anastasia Daimura, a farmer from the city of Melitopol, and the head of the People's Farmer Association of the Zaporizhia region. 3 generations already work on our farm. My parents, my husband, and I, and now our children are helping as well. We have been walking the land for more than 20 years, and we see how the climate changes year after year. Dry winds are getting stronger, bodies of water are drying up, the fertile topsoil is being blown away, and shelter belts are dying. This has a detrimental effect on our harvest. Yields have already dropped by about a third. Farmers are suffering losses and are in need of subsidies. Of course, we are not sitting idly by. We are preserving these shelter belts and implementing new technologies to increase yields. But our efforts and those of our business colleagues are not enough to solve the problem across the entire region. That is why I propose to develop and implement a national plan for the restoration of nature, which includes the creation and rehabilitation of forest belts, protective shelter belts, the production of planting material, planting and caring for it, and among other things, the creation of new artificial reservoirs for irrigating these shelter belts. It is also worth developing mechanisms for joint investment in these projects by citizens, the government, and companies. On these newly formed natural territories, a wide variety of new businesses can develop, such as forestry, hunting grounds, fish farming, and apiaries. And this list can go on and on. For us, for farmers, this means the revival of soil fertility, increased crop yields, and higher income. We will be able to create numerous jobs in rural areas, including for veterans of the special military operation. The income from these activities will allow the investments to pay off. I propose to start implementing this plan in our Zaporizhia region and several neighboring regions in southern Russia. We are already seeing desertification there. I believe this will have a positive impact on the environment of our region and on the lives of our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Anastasia. You may take your seat.
First of all, I want to say that in our historical regions, including the Zaporizhia region, of course, agriculture has traditionally been a strong sector since Soviet times. If we consider the historical context of the Soviet times, these extensive forest plantations you just mentioned there, and I am specifically referring to the artificially created ones, of course actually made their initial appearance and were established during that particular Soviet period, marking a notable development in land management. Even in the late 1940s, there was a special plan.
The Tallinn plan, if I recall correctly, is from around 1948. So everything since then up to now was created by our fathers and grandfathers. But now I want to address everyone who is in any way connected to this field of activity, as well as the heads of municipal entities of the Federation's subjects. We must treat what we have inherited with great care and under no circumstances allow these plantings to be destroyed for purposes that, while important, are still of secondary significance. This includes building various cottages and so on and so forth. That is important too. Individual housing construction needs to be developed, but we must understand where and approach these tasks rationally. Now, moving on, of course, you are right, and this needs to be done. We will definitely take your suggestion into account. But I really want to specifically point out that we currently have a separate state program for effectively returning agricultural land to its original and intended use. And starting this year, our historical territories, including the Zaporizhia region, are joining this program. That is, these territories, including Zaporizhia, will be covered by the conditions and all support tools for agricultural producers within the framework of these land return to agriculture programs. This absolutely needs to be done. And I ask the government to pay attention to this so that these opportunities are not just formally extended to, among others, the Zaporizhia region, but that real assistance is provided to you and your colleagues working in this field. Overall, the idea is, of course, correct and good, and we will support it in every possible way. Thank you.
Thank you. Vladimir Vladimirovich, I would like to invite the next 2 leaders from the technological development track. And first, I would like to give the floor to Sergei Vasilievich Rybak, General Director of the Nature and People Foundation, with an idea for using unmanned aerial systems in specially protected areas please.
Dear Vladimir Vladimirovich, together with our partners, we are engaged in saving rare species of Arctic foxes, whales, Saker falcons, and Russian desmans, fighting forest fires, and also helping Russian companies with sustainable development. The vast territory of our country and the minimal low population density contribute to the fact that our state's economy is a world leader in ecological balance. In order to preserve this, we need to use technological solutions. Today, artificial intelligence has already been mentioned. Artificial intelligence and machine learning allow us to automate the decision-making process in this field. Robots allow us to reach places where no human has ever set foot before. It is necessary to use mechanisms of public-private partnership and investment. In order to minimize expenses at all budget levels, as well as losses from natural disasters and catastrophes, it is proposed within the framework of public civil procurement to pay special attention to the development of domestic unmanned technology. We are implementing a pilot project in the territory of the Federal State Budgetary Institution Zapovednoye Pribaykalye. This is our beloved Baikal. The Irkutsk region has also been mentioned a lot today. The first stage involves the use of robotic technology in order to update application models, as well as to verify and optimize the financial models of what we are doing there. In fact, we have something to fly, we have people to fly, and we know where. Now the question is, accordingly, what for and how much it will cost. According to our calculations, the savings from this project alone will amount to about 100 million rubles per year. The saved funds will be used to improve working conditions and equipment for the employees working in this area. We believe that this example can be expanded to the entire protected area system, as well as to the forestry and water sectors. With your support, we ask the government of the Russian Federation, the Agency for Strategic Initiatives, and WEB, the Russian Federation and regional executive authorities to develop a program for the robotization of the country's natural resource management complex and to take this into account when...
Which complexes?
Natural resource management complexes. So that this can be taken into account in the national security and development strategy, as well as in national projects. We also ask that our initiative be included in the national project for environmental well-being. Thank you very much.
You know that we have been paying a lot of attention to unmanned aerial vehicles lately. We are experiencing a breakthrough in this area, and without a doubt, I've just recently discussed this topic with some colleagues. You know that we have good momentum both in robotics in general and in unmanned aerial vehicles in particular. We held a meeting on unmanned aerial vehicles in Toliati quite recently, at the beginning of the year, I believe, right? At the beginning of the year, a corresponding decision was made there to support this line of activity. There are a lot of interesting and creative ideas and proposals. They are being implemented. Good companies are emerging, and I must say that they attract the attention not only of consumers of these products in Russia, but also abroad. There is a great deal of interest. We will definitely continue to do this. From the perspective of environmental protection, of course, this is in high demand. You know, a few years ago when we were still actively communicating with European leaders, one of these leaders said to me, well, we are very disappointed with how Russia is dealing with forest fires in Siberia. I said, have you ever been there? He replied, only by plane 700 kilometers or 1,000 one way and back. That's like pouring gold on it from above. You see what I mean? But new technologies will allow us to get closer to solving these problems. And that's very important. You said it right, such a vast territory and such low population density, especially in the areas where the problems are most pronounced. Absolutely, absolutely. We will do this within the framework of the programs that already exist. But if you are able to add anything, we would be happy to make use of your suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I would like to invite Stanislav Olegovich Rozanov, the CEO of the company Tubot, to the stage with the idea of in-pipe robots.
How? So what exactly are these in-pipe robots?
That's right.
Cool.
Dear Vladimir Vladimirovich, hello, CEO of Tubot, winner of the Know Our Auto Radio contest, Stanislav Rozanov. I am engaged in the development and advancement of in-pipe robots, which are designed to help prevent accidents and as a result avoid costs associated with downtime, loss of raw materials, environmental damage, and expenses for eliminating the consequences and repair. Russia has the longest pipeline network in the world, which carries a huge volume of cargo. And this part of the network is worn out. A large portion of the pipes are accessible for traditional diagnostic and maintenance methods, but there are so-called hard-to-reach pipes, and there are a lot of such sections. These can be pipes located under buildings, structures, underwater, or beneath railways, where working is difficult, expensive, and sometimes impossible. And that's where robots come to our aid. They move directly inside the pipe and perform processes related to diagnostics, repair, treatment, and cleaning. Robots can detect defects inside the pipe and thus help save significant costs, because now the entire pipe doesn't need to be replaced. It's enough to carry out just a local repair. As a result, the residents of the country receive high-quality resources without downtime, without dug-up courtyards, with optimized utility costs, and with minimal environmental impact. The robots I work with are capable of traversing vertical sections and multiple turns, which means they can access not only straight segments, but also so-called pipes with complex geometry. Another important distinction is that we have models with the highest level of explosion protection. This means that the robot can be used in pipelines with a high residual concentration of gas mixtures and petroleum products without the risk of fire or explosions. Robots are already being used, but for their wider adoption, it is necessary to develop an industry-wide demand and, if possible, support measures similar to those that became available thanks to you for industrial robotics within the framework of the national project. Thank you very much for your attention.
One of the most important areas is the introduction of robotics into the Russian economy and industry. Well, you know about this. We talk about this all the time. The level of robotization in the Russian economy and Russian industry, unfortunately, is still quite low. This is one of the key areas of our development. Here, to a certain extent, it also addresses the staffing issue as well as questions related to ensuring safety in industry. Now, as you mentioned, your robots are being used for pipe inspection and so on. Of course, this significantly improves both the quality of work and ensures safety. However, there are certain areas of activity where, well, assault unit fighters use pipes without any robots and operate quite effectively. But that's a unique exceptional case. But overall, in industry, they are certainly in high demand. And just now, your colleague was talking about unmanned technology. Well, basically, those are robots too, right? But the point is that we need to develop them more broadly. They shouldn't just be aerial vehicles. They should also include unmanned vehicles at sea, underwater, automotive robots, railway, and so on unmanned vehicles. And that's also an area where you can apply your expertise. You've already found applications I know about that. I've already received reports from colleagues in the government and from various companies about how they're using I believe these are your inventions, your robots. And in general, any step in this direction overall enriches this field with additional technologies and new ideas. That's very important, especially with the use of artificial intelligence. This will develop and is already developing in the most interesting and rapid way. There's only one thing that's important here. An American science fiction writer already mentioned this once in his book Round Dance, I think back in the 1940s, in either 1942 or 1943. By the way, he was of Russian, or rather Russian descent. The main thing is that a robot should not harm a human being. But here is the opposite. Your proposals, in fact, actually reduce risks for people. And in these areas, without a doubt, especially as you just mentioned, for example, using them during fires or in hazardous industries, of course, we will expand on this. And if it's possible to broaden your proposals and the support measures that already exist, we will definitely do so. Thank you. You know, unfortunately, we have to wrap up. I have a scheduled protocol event. There was supposed to be, unless something gets in the way, a conversation with the President of the United States. What could I pass on to him from you, please? hand over the microphone. The microphone, give it to me. Who wants to speak?
We'll definitely prepare the brands. Yes, Vladimir Vladimirovich.
Who would like to speak? Yes, please. Hand over the microphone, please. Just introduce yourself so we know the author.
Dan Nicolai, city of Tyumen, and one of the leaders too. We will create an inclusive film club. I would like to ask the president that we be able to exchange films. Films that speak about our values, where we and they could share exactly who we really are. That is, what value we bring and how we convey it, because this is a very important point. For over 10 years now, Vladimir Vladimirovich, we have been engaged in film pedagogy in our country. We generally view cinema as a tool for education and upbringing. Based on this, we have developed our project Inclusive Cinema, because when I started filming on the starting line about Paralympians, it was about Roman Zhdanov and his coach. You awarded them in the Kremlin after their victory in Tokyo, right? That was when I first realized that we have 11 million people with disabilities. But what do we actually know about them? How do they live? How do they express themselves? What do they achieve? What results do they get? I realized that we practically know nothing at all. And it was only then that we made the film. That's why I say the power of cinema is so important. We made the film and started showing it across the country, and we saw a huge response so that these people could talk about themselves as heroes. As we screened the films, we started to look around the country to see if there were any other similar films, and we realized that despite the growth of the film industry, there were very few films that portrayed such people, not from a perspective of pity, but from a perspective of dignity and their victories. It's very important for us to have that. Based on this, Vladimir Vladimirovich, I have a bit of a request, because as a leader, I simply didn't have time to speak. I have a request. We've started to create inclusive film clubs across the country, and now these are being shown in more than 70 cities. We've realized that we need to create a platform. We have an online cinema, and we want to create a platform for inclusive and social films on it. That is so that we can provide it to schools for dialogue. At the beginning of your speech, you talked about the value of passing things on. I see that film is actually the most crucial element in passing on values to the whole family. And when we create films for schools that give an opportunity to understand what a father is, what a mother is, what a family is, what a country is, we begin to build a dialogue. An inclusive film club like this gives us the chance to create a common ground, a shared field of understanding about how we live and what we do. Well, yes.
Thank you.
And well, greetings to the President of the USA from all of us, basically.
Yes, absolutely. And your suggestion, actually, I think he should like it, because overall, it promotes exactly this kind of agenda within the country. And considering the power of the US mass media, it matters for the whole world and in a positive way. So I will definitely pass it on. First. Second, I would like to thank you for what you are doing. Of course, this is important for people with health limitations, that's obvious. That's why, of course, we need to talk about them, to talk about their problems, and to create platforms that would help people or citizens who are in such situations to help them feel like full members of society, to have access to mass media and to works of cinema. I also mean people who have problems with their vision, hearing, and so on. But just as profoundly important is the undeniable fact that through your dedicated work, through your remarkable creativity, you fulfill an absolutely vital and indispensable function for the entirety of society, for all of humanity. This is because you meticulously nurture and cultivate within each and every one of us a profound and essential sense of compassion, which is, without question, the fundamental and bedrock foundation of a truly mature and harmonious society. Indeed, you unequivocally make each and every one of us inherently better individuals. For that, we owe you a huge thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All the best. I wish you success. Please don't be upset. I do understand that we certainly could have talked a bit more, but it truly feels quite awkward to keep people waiting. Someone might indeed get offended or something like that. Thank you very much. Good luck.